Hi, welcome to today's bonus example. Today we're going to be working on functions. We're going to create a function which will deepen the understanding about functions in Python, and also it will introduce you to the concept of decoupling. Decoupling is a programming ideology that you should really learn. It applies to Python, it applies to all other programming languages. Programming with decoupling in mind will give you make your programs better. So I'll explain you decoupling as we build the program so you'll understand what it actually is. Right, I've created a Python file, and here I have this input function which, if I run it, it asks the user to enter feet and inches. So in the USA, they have the system that lengths can be expressed in something like 512, which means 5 feet 12 inches. Now we want to create a function to convert that user input to meters. Let's do it. So we get feet and inches. We expect that kind of output. So feet divided by a space from inches. So we expect two numbers divided by space. So our function is going to be convert. We want to convert feet, inches. So that value will go here. This will be a string. And so once we get that string, we want to extract the two numbers from it. So what we can do is we can do this. Let's say that feet inches is going to be 512, right? Then if you say feet inches dot split, you can use the split string method, and you say where do you want to split the string at, and we say split it at the space. So here, in that case, what we're going to get is a list. So the split method works on the string and it returns a list containing the parts of the string split at that character. Similarly, you could have something like hey dash me dash you, and you split it at the dash, and you get three parts of the string, hey, me, and you. Now we want to save that list in a variable. So what we do is we say parts is equal to that. So parts is going to be that list. So let's do that. Parts is equal to feet inches dot split at the space. And then we could say feet is equal to parts with index 0. So that will give us that number only, which is actually a string, so we need to convert it into a proper data type. Float would be the proper data type here because these are continuous values, so it could also be theoretically a decimal number. So float is better to have instead of int. And inches is float parts 1. So that will give us the second item. And we convert it into a float. So now we have each of those numbers stored in these variables. Then we apply the formula to get meters out of that feet and inches. So let's create a variable meters, and that would be equal to feet times 0.3048. So 1 meter is actually equal to that number of feet. That's why we multiply by that, and also plus inches times 0.0254. And that should give us meters. Then we can return something like return an F string, perhaps. You could say that feet, and inches. So feet is the label, the string, and feet here is the variable. So you'll see how that renders in the output is equal to meters the variable, meters the label, and then print convert and you provide feet inches there. Yeah, now I know why you were laughing. This should be split, not spit. So let me make some space here. And here, let's make one more space. And I'll run the script now. Enter feet and inches, 512. Press enter, and it says that 5.0 feet and 12.0 inches is equal to that number of meters. So 5.0 replaced that part, 12.0 replaced that part, and that replaced that part. So far, so good. So we have a function which converts feet and inches to meters. Now, this function, of course, is part of a bigger program, usually. For example, let's suppose that this program is part of a bigger program in the kids' Disneyland, where you have the slides and everything, and so they want to know the height of the kids before the kids enter this playground, in order to know if they can use the slides or not. So they ask the user to enter feet and inches, and then their other devices need meters, so they convert that to meters, and then they check if meters is less than 1. If that's the case, then they say, oh sorry, this kid cannot use the slide. So for that we would need a conditional to check the result of that. So what we do is, instead of printing the meters out, we would need to store it. So the result is equal to that. So that should give us the return of that. And then we can check if result is less than 1. We say print kid is too small. And else you say kid can use the slide. Right, but the problem is result is a string. Right, you see that is the result. It is not a number, and that brings us to the concept of decoupling. The output of a function should be decoupled from other components. So that means instead of returning a string here, you should return one value, not such a complex component, because the value that you return might be used from other components in your program, such as here. The value that this function returns is used by this if-else conditional block. Therefore, the better way to do this is to just return meters here. So return one single value if you can. And then here, result now will be equal to the actual value of meters, 1.8 or whatever it is. So then you are able to compare that number with 1. So if I run the script now, enter feet and inches, 3, 12, Keith can use the slide. So that's the result we want, use it or not. Now you might also want to print out a message as we did previously, so to say that amount of feet and inches is equal to that amount of meters. You want to print that out as we just did 5 minutes ago. And the problem is, as the function is now, we cannot do that because feet and inches are now inside the function. We cannot access them because they are local variables. We cannot access them outside the function, but there is a solution to that as well, and it is also related to decoupling, but we will cover that later. Today we were talking about decoupling the output. Tomorrow we will talk about decoupling functions, and we will talk about this particular solution here. So for today, that's what you need to keep in mind. When you create a function, don't complexify the output. So this function is a convert function. It should get the input value and it should return the output value. This is feet and inches, this is meters. The function should do that and do it well. So with that, I'll talk to you tomorrow. See you.